Hi everyone, so sorry for the delay. As you know, if you in-person things always get delayed or something happens. So thank you so much for your patience as we finish doing Smudge. So we just want to welcome everyone in person and virtually. People coming from other parts of Turtle Island, in 236 territory, to join us here. My name is Hanan, I'm with the JHC team, and
Munira.
right, so we just want to kind of start with a land acknowledgement. This land acknowledgement we want to bring to the forefront an urgent appeal, one of which should be viewed as a humanitarian one. So I'm going to just state exactly the call that was asked of us to make in solidarity. So in solidarity with the Harris, Myron, and Netanyahu families, and with the family of Buffalo women, we acknowledge that leaving sacred remains in a city dump is an affront to their inherent dignity. We acknowledge that refusing to search sends a clear message to those who prey on Indigenous peoples, a message of invitation to dump their victims in the trash over in Winnipeg, where they won't even be looked for. We acknowledge that we need to be better than this, and we commit to living out in our day-to-day lives the calls to justice specific to all Canadians through 15.1 through 15.8 from the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women.
Bienvenue tout le monde, en personne et virtuellement. Mon nom est Munira. Tous ceux venant d'autres parties de l'île de la Tortue, merci de nous rejoindre aujourd'hui sur Amiskwasi, Waskahikan, le territoire du traité numéro 6. Avec la reconnaissance des territoires d'aujourd'hui, nous souhaitons mettre au premier plan un appel urgent, dont l'un devrait être considéré comme humanitaire. En solidarité avec les familles Harris, Miran, Nepinat et avec la famille de Buffalo Women, nous reconnaissons que laisser des restes sacrés dans un dépotoir de la ville est un affront à leur dignité inhérente. Nous reconnaissons que refuser de fouiller envoie un message clair à ceux qui s'attaquent au peuple autochtone, un message d'invitation à jeter leurs victimes à la poubelle à Winnipeg, où elles ne seront même pas recherchées. Nous reconnaissons que nous devons être meilleurs que cela et nous nous engageons à répondre dans notre vie quotidienne aux appels à la justice à tous les Canadiens, de l'enquête nationale sur les femmes et les filles autochtones disparues et assassinées.
Today we're all meeting for the Social Stride program, so just want to clarify what the intention of Social Stride is. It was developed in 2020 as a response to the rise of online discrimination and social media activism on platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. We essentially want to equip youth with the skills to confront these issues that they're facing in these online spaces, and support their peers doing it as well.
Le projet Social Stride, Progrès social, a été développé en 2020 en réponse à la montée de la discrimination en ligne et de l'activisme sur les réseaux sociaux, sur des plateformes comme Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok. Nous visons à doter les jeunes des compétences et des ressources nécessaires pour défendre, éduquer et soutenir leurs pairs face à ces réalités complexes en ligne.
We would like to thank the wonderful iHuman Youth Society for providing us with this beautiful space. I know you can't see it on there, but if you look it up, I'm sure you'll see it's a beautiful space. iHuman does great work with young people, so I urge you to check their website and programming, and also know that a young team from iHuman will be taking the stage to do a cipher at 7 p.m., and this can be viewed on the Ignite Change convention platform. So try to join us again at 7 p.m. In addition, we cannot... Go ahead.
Sorry. Nous tenons à remercier la merveilleuse société de la jeunesse iHuman pour nous avoir fourni cet espace magnifique que malheureusement peut-être vous n'arrivez pas à voir. Mais merci encore de nous permettre de tenir cette série ici dans cet espace. iHuman fait un excellent travail avec les jeunes. Je vous invite donc à consulter leur site web et leur programmation. Ce soir, à 19h, une jeune équipe d'iHuman montera sur scène pour faire un chiffre et cela pourra être visionné sur la plateforme de la convention Ignite Change, Initier le changement.
And we cannot forget the significant support of the Department of Canadian Heritage, the Government of Alberta, the Edmonton Community Foundation, the Canadian Multicultural Education Foundation, and the S.M. Blair Family Foundation that have made this gathering a possibility.
De plus, Nous ne pouvons oublier le soutien important du département du patrimoine canadien, du gouvernement de l'Alberta, de la Fondation communautaire d'Edmonton, de la Fondation canadienne pour l'éducation multiculturelle et de la Fondation de la famille Assemblaire, qui ont rendu ce rassemblement et cette programmation possible.
So for the next 3 days, just to give you a snapshot of what's happening here in person. We are excited to share the programming for the following 3 days, as today we will be engaging with a large community that extends to the online community in an interactive grounding on colonial history activity. And we will learn more about digital literacy and hate as well. So we'll also maybe look at examples, if you're staying longer for the other programming happening, there is examples of how youth are mobilizing. Tomorrow it is all about facilitation, and it is interactive, it is skills-based, and it will be fun and rich. And the third day, we will have some time to reflect and be creative using different forms of art led by artists to share our outcomes.
Nous sommes ravis de partager avec vous la programmation des 3 prochains jours. Aujourd'hui, nous participerons à une séance interactive sur l'histoire coloniale du Canada et nous apprendrons davantage sur la littératie numérique et la haine. Et nous examinerons des exemples de mobilisation de certains jeunes. Demain, tout est question de facilitation et d'apprentissage interactif basé sur les compétences. Et pour le 3e jour, nous aurons un peu de temps pour réfléchir et être créatifs en utilisant différentes formes d'art dirigées par les artistes pour partager nos résultats.
At the end of the series, the team here in person will be provided with a certificate of completion to support them along their journey in holding spaces on online hate in their own communities.
À la fin de la série, vous recevrez un certificat d'achèvement pour vous aider tout au long de votre parcours de maintien de l'espace dans vos communautés.
Okay.
It's all you, I think, now, Angelica.
Yes.
So what we're doing now.
Thank you. Can I just say, maybe too loud? Can you mute yourselves? I just want to wish you a good 3 days. We're going to be doing a session parallel online to the one you're doing right now. Just for you to know, Alex, who was supposed to be there with you, is here with us. So we will take care of Alex here in the online space. And then we will join again around your 2 p.m. in Mountain Standard Time, right?
Unmute me for a second.
Say that again?
Oh, yeah, no, before we kind of do our activities and reconnect, Angelica, maybe you can say hi to the folks here quickly. Everyone can wave. Everyone wave to the folks we have online. We'll be reconvening and discussing about our learning in a short while.
Okay. I wish you can see the 15 of us waving, but soon we're gonna hopefully have the 15 of us here with us. Thank you. Have a good time, and we will see each other again around 2 p.m. It's all yours. You can start. I'm gonna share my screen now. Okay, you can't see my screen yet, right? Not working yet? Okay, let's try it again. Perhaps you can start giving them the instructions on how to log in while I pull my screen up. See if it works.
Sure, yeah, it's still loading.
Oh, it's loading. Okay.
Yes. Oh, I think it's on now.
Is it?
Yeah. So
which one are you seeing?
I'm seeing everything,
You're
including the comments.
Including the comments, so I'm
Yeah.
sharing one. Share this tab instead. Let's see if it works.
Yeah. So if everybody wants to join in, you can turn on your cameras. Just be sure to stay muted so there's no echo or any trouble. But we'll invite you to participate later.
Okay.
It's good now.
Is it good? Okay.
Yeah.
So in the top corner of your screen, you will see the share audio and video. Feel free to click there. We only have 4 people who have requested to come in to here with us, but the intention is that the session is more interactive. We want to have a conversation and read together. And so hopefully you all feel driven to come in here and make sure that we have all your perspectives in. So I have Alex, Erin, and Colette, and Sharma joining. Please, the rest of you, request coming in, and hopefully my computer will be able to hold you all. So I will start accepting you, and then we can do a check-in here. We'll see. Just keep your mics muted, so we will make sure that there is no echo. Okay. We have 2 more coming in. It's on the top, right top of the black screen. Is that working? Okay, so we have some people joining. Good. So Erin, Colette is in. Anyone else? Erin, did you find the way to join? Okay. There you go, Erin. Anyone else? So for the camera options, you will find at the bottom of the black box, it says, is a little kind of like video camera. It says video, mute your video. So you can turn on it there. And then there is the sound on the side. Anyone else here? Come on, join us. Okay. We want to invite you all to check in and participate with us. So there you go. We're going to move it here. Okay, so let me go back to the previous one. No, Andrew, we are not broadcasting the session to a human. We might join in a little bit, around 2 p.m. your time. So what we're going to do today in this session, and why it's important for you to join us here and perhaps to have the conversation, is we're going to talk about anti-oppression, but anti-oppression not as a concept in the abstract, but anti-oppression as in how it happens. And we have heard so much about it in the last few days during the convention, and I'm hoping that we can explore oppression and anti-oppression in the online spaces, and how the offline and the online connections of the spaces intersect. Because what is happening in the online is really similar to what is happening in the offline. It just looks different. So we're going to talk about the history of Canada and why, what are the structures of oppression that exist, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how that manifests online. But okay, so we only have 2 people with us right now. So how about all of you in the chat? You check in. What is your name? Where are you connecting from? Some of you have done it already. And in the scale of dog, how are you feeling? How are you feeling today? And is this Alex? Alex, if you are ready, you can unmute yourself and show your video and tell us where you're connecting from and how are you feeling today in your dog scale. Or let's start with Sarah. Sarah looks ready. Sarah, go ahead, and then all of you get ready to unmute. Sarah, go ahead.
Yeah. So my name is Saramod, and I'm connecting from Quebec, Canada. On the dog scale today, I'm feeling a bit 8 earlier this morning because of school, but now I'm feeling like a 4. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, how about Alex?
Hi, I'm Alex. I hope my mic is working.
Yes.
Okay. I'm connecting from Winnipeg. I'm feeling 2 today because I wish I was there in person.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
glad I could still join
Right.
virtually.
And we're glad you can do it. Okay, how about you, Colette?
I'm here from Barrie, Ontario. Very emotional the past few days because it's been touching on a lot of issues that personally affect me with disability, with being a part of the queer community, and being a victim of domestic violence. Um, so, a lot of emotional range that I've been feeling. Had a therapy session yesterday just to touch base and make sure that I was processing everything. And I'm just happy to be able to participate and put in my viewpoint and what has happened to me and how I feel things could improve within our systems.
Thank you, Colette. And I share that with you. It has been, they having a few difficult days in processing, I guess, is the reality that many of us live, and some of us intersect in many of those pieces of oppression. And I'm glad you had access to support. And the intention is that hopefully by the end of the convention, we've gone through all those issues and difficulties, and perhaps think about what do we need to do? How do we get together and activate more, like leverage the human rights discourse and action in Canada? So my heart goes to you, and thank you for sharing. I have seen you sharing in many of the sessions, so thank you for staying and sharing. And we have Erin. Erin, how are you? Where are you connecting from?
I'm connecting from Edmonton, Alberta.
Okay. And how are you in a dog scale?
Probably about 7. I have teenagers, so I don't think I'll ever be at a 10.
Hear you. It's good. Okay, and I forgot to introduce myself. So I let Hanan introduce herself. Munira, Sarah. So my name is Angelica, and I work with the John Humphrey Center for Peace and Human Rights. And I'm located in Ottawa. Considered Algonquin land, Anishinaabe, and yeah, I live in Edmonton for some time, and I'm for 18 years, and I moved here about 2 years ago. So it's being interesting to see similar realities from this perspective now, geographically speaking. And today, I think I'm on the 3 scale. I feel like I'm ready for this, and I'm ready to cruise and navigate this session with you all. Okay, so if you are present, but you are not online with us, yeah, let us know. I know that there are more people that are connected. So let us know where you're connecting from and how are you feeling today. It will be lovely to hear you. Okay. We had the intention of continuing this conversation with the English and French format, like the bilingual format. And I just want to make sure that I just want to make sure that we continue that conversation. But I wonder if there is anyone special, that if there is anyone who wants to like make sure that we translate everything in French, we can just go with a bilingual jumping, making sure that if you want to participate in French, it's all good, participate in French. If you want to participate in English, then please, by all means, do that. The intention is that this content is available for you in whatever language you want to speak. And Sarah is here to support us with the French in case we need anything. So please, if you want to participate in French, do that. We are happy to make sure that we connect everyone. So I think we've talked about today. So based on the history, we're going to review the history of Canada and the layers of oppression that are that have been built during the history of Canada. And we want to invite you to reflect on those based on your own experiences and your own identities, because as we have seen through all these days and the reflections that people have shared, the structures that we have created in this country and the social structures that we interact through, like healthcare and education, and they're intersected by different ideas and that are powerful, and those ideas have created power and have given power to some of us, and have concentrated political decisions and economic decisions in some of us. So we want to explore that and think about, to add to that layer, the idea of the online world. So how does that reflect in the online world, and how is it related to the in-person as well? So, Sarah, do you want to go with this one? I don't.
Yes. Sorry, did you have something to add?
No, I was gonna say I can't see you, so I didn't know if you were still.
Okay. Donc, je vais commencer. On va vous parler du Centre John Humphrey. Donc, qui nous sommes? Le Centre John Humphrey pour la paix et les droits humains travaille à faire progresser la dignité, la liberté, la justice et la sécurité grâce à des relations de collaboration et à une éducation transformatrice sur la paix et les droits humains.
Okay, so basically, as Sarah said, at the John Humphrey Center for Peace and Human Rights, we work to advance dignity, freedom, justice, and security through collaborative relationship and transformative education and peace and human rights. And so when we talk about education and human rights, and it's not only about let's name those rights and talk about them, but rather let's talk the language of human rights and see how that language, those structures, those visions, those lenses and frameworks that we use to understand and justify human rights, create relations that are transformative, create knowledge and education that is transformative, that help us connect in different ways. So we make sure that we find each other in that humanity. Yesterday, I think it was Adebayo who was talking about the joy, that human joy that also connects us, and in seeing each other as deserving of joy, as each one of us is deserving joy and deserving rights and deserving acknowledgement. So and so that is where we want to get to, and all our education and all the things that we do, the ways we collaborate from the John Humphrey Center, the ways we see community and other organizations are based on those ideas. And the intention is that those become transformative, not only check marks, but transformative ways of seeing each other, transformative ways of relating to each other. And we end up having this conversation about the online space precisely because we saw how in the online world, all this, the dehumanization of people, the putting people in boxes and feeling comfortable in saying many things, and disregarding and silencing people in the online world has become a practice and has become something that we got used to. And so in that context, we wanted to talk about how is that happening online, and what can we do to have that, address those spaces, because we deserve equity-based spaces, not only in person, but also online. So This session is a grounding session, and that's why is the first one that they're having in person for the next 3 days. But it's also something that we like to share with everyone, because it's a session that allows us to ground on that experience and seeing our own individual experience in this big framework of the structures of Canada and the history of Canada. For it to be successful, we need you to focus on your inner, your own history, how you are connecting to what we are talking about, and that you commit also to listen to others with an open heart and mind, and with the intention to understand what their message is. Like, not try to disqualify or to disregard what they are saying, but try to understand what people are sharing with us. Share also what you feel to say. So we are not bringing you all in this space by force, but you're sharing whatever you feel safe to save, including your video and your mic. But also remember that when you share, then the others have the opportunity to hear your experience, because our individual experiences are all different. And so when I hear your experience, I learn from you, and I'm able to understand a different way of seeing and living life. So it's important to share as much as you feel safe to do, but also knowing, understanding that in sharing there is knowledge, knowledge creation. You're an expert in your own experience, so there is no room to deny the experience of others. And then Sarah and I are here to facilitate a conversation, to make sure that we're respectful with each other, and to promote that you engage. Any questions about that? No? Any comments? Okay, so I'll move into, but because we're going to be talking about that history of Canada that we are not used to, and that we have been addressing in the last 5 days, then we know that we can be uncomfortable, and that we might be uncomfortable. So I'm going to take the liberty of reading this quote, because I think that this quote is really meaningful in entering the conversation we're entering. So, some of these stories might make you feel a chill down your back, or make you randomly start crossing your arms, get tense all over your body, or even just feel an urge to resist. Well, good. When your body is cold, it shivers. When it is hungry, it growls. When it is in fear, it shakes. And when it is sad, it cries. Your body is meant to respond, whether that be physically or emotionally. And it is the same when deconstructing what you've been taught. It tells you that something is there and that you must go through it and find ways to process it. We all have different relationships with our body. And I'm going to start acknowledging that, because each one of our bodies is different. And we build different relationships with how with it, and how we use it, and how we emotionally process what we're feeling. But it is real that when we're gonna have when we are having emotional discomfort, we're probably gonna use it, but we're gonna probably feel it physically as well. So when we feel that physical discomfort, just be aware of it. Before jumping into this session, check yourself. It's like, how are you doing? Is there any part of your body that is hurting? For me, like, I have a little bit of back pain, so I know if I start being uncomfortable, then probably that pain is gonna increase, and I'm gonna start feeling discomfort there, and usually kind of piles up in my chest. So if you feel like you cannot control your emotions, like that you cannot let that discomfort move anymore in your body, then you might start it to be triggered, and it's time to step back a little bit. Let me know that you might need some support, and I'll be happy to provide some kind of debrief or conversation. But let's be aware of our bodies. Also, if this discomfort is just discomfort, like it's uncomfortable, but you still can't process it, let's try to keep it and let it navigate our bodies. Because what the quote is inviting us to do is, like, we need to think about, what do we need to unlearn? What do we need to hear from this discomfort? What is bugging me, and why? So Any? Okay. Okay, so a lot of prepping. We're ready. Here are, here's what we're gonna do. Sorry.
Yes. So in a few minutes, pardon. Switching to French now, sorry. Donc, on va tout à l'heure vous envoyer dans des salles de discussion. Donc, on va vous séparer. Voici le processus des salles de discussion. Donc, vous aurez quelques minutes, environ 10 minutes pour lire les pages désignées d'un document qu'on va vous faire parvenir. Ensuite, vous allez avoir 15-20 minutes à peu près pour discuter dans les salles de discussion. Donc, puis ensuite, on va faire un petit rapport sur ce qu'on a lu. Donc, on peut se poser pendant faire notre lecture, on peut se demander qu'est-ce qui a retenu notre attention, pourquoi, et comment est-ce que cette histoire, elle se reflète dans notre vie et dans nos expériences en ligne.
Awesome.
Donc, je vais vous repasser à Angelica.
Okay, awesome. So exactly that. So we're gonna share with you 2 links. Those links are French and English version of the same timeline. It's a timeline that has 30 pages. It's only facts and it has some pictures, so don't be scared about 30 pages. Open it up whatever you feel like you want to open it up, or you can read like 1 page. And I do this because I'm pretending it's a book, but it's not a book. It's actually, I mean, you're gonna open it online, so scroll to wherever you want to scroll. Perhaps take as oh, here's Paul, so I'm just gonna let Paul take whatever page you want to take, read, go to another page, jump it, go back to the beginning, however you want to do it. 10 minutes. Get familiar with, read some facts, and then just pick one that caught your attention. And why? Think why. And how, and then the next step is, how does this fact connect or manifest in your online experience today? And so welcome, Paul. Is it Paul? You feel free to open your mic and let us know where you're connecting from. Oh, it's gone. Okay. Too much. So I will share the links right now, and then I will set up my timer. We'll have 10 minutes to read. And then we don't need, I would say we were gonna do 2 breakout rooms, but we can do it here. We don't need to go anywhere. We can talk here, pick one fact, and then we will talk about it. Okay, so I am sharing those right now with you. Let me just fetch the, I think, okay, this is one. So I'm putting it in the chat. You'll be able to click the link from there. Hopefully it works. Let me know if it works. There it is, 1. And then here is the French version in case you need it.
Angelica, I don't know if it's for everybody, but it requires access.
It is
So
asking access?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I have changed the, okay, thank
So
you
it
for
might not be on public, yeah.
No, I will. If it is asking access for you, it's going to ask for anyone. So I'm just going to fix that right away. Did you try to open the English or the French one?
The first link.
The first link, okay. Okay, let me fix that, please.
Oh, the French one's working.
The French one's working? Okay,
Yeah.
then I fix one and I can fix the other one. So just let me fix the first one. Just give me 2 seconds because my computer is working 3 times, but it's doing okay, is it? Or am I lagging too much?
No, you're not lagging. That's fine.
Okay, it's only my computer, the one that is lagging.
Yeah, my computer's rushing as well.
Okay. I have it here. Come on. little computer. Let me fix the share. Paul, were you able to connect? Is Paul connected now? Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. So I might have more capacity for my computer. Okay, good. I'm gonna grab the link. I thought it was fully prepared. That's what happened. Loading, loading. I was supporting someone a few days ago with one of the sessions, and I said, okay, tell me what's happening with your computer. And then the person said, it's just the circle is going around. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's exactly what's happening with mine. Okay, restricted access, of course. People with access, anyone with a link. Okay. Copy the link. And then try the link again if you can, but I'm gonna give it the copy it again in case that one doesn't work. Is it? Okay, amazing, we did it. Woo! 10 minutes. So it is here in Ottawa is 2:47, so we will till 3 p.m. We'll read a little bit, and then we will move into, okay, thank you, Colette. And Erin and Alex, you have access. Yes, I'm assuming yes. Okay. Okay, good. 10 minutes. And counting now. Again, read however you want to read it. And I'll bring you back. I will try to, look, I'm gonna dare my computer to play some music for us and see what happens. I'm gonna close this. Okay, so let's start coming back. Hello. I think we lost Erin. They suddenly disappear. So hopefully they might connect again. Okay, so who wants to share? What was the fact that they picked and why? And how is it connected to your online experience? Tara, do you want to start? Put you
Sure.
on the spot there.
Yeah. I didn't choose like a specific page, but as to relating it to online experiences from my perspective, from like what I've seen, I feel like a lot of people, when they don't know the history, they tend to either attack people or, just spread false information.
Mhm.
And, that doesn't help anybody, because how are we going to get further like into this issue if you don't know what you're talking about?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Colette? So any fact that caught your attention anymore?
I just started basically reading from the top down, and ooh, was that a wallop? Because it was kind of like reading through my family history. I've been doing kind of the ancestry thing over the past few years. I have Irish ancestors that were brought over as laborers, who immigrated to England during the famine. Finding out through DNA that I've got Indigenous ancestry, and figuring out that past and where the disconnect is, and how I can be more respectful in Indigenous spaces online. But also the history of what happened with Indigenous disabled people and what is still happening to disabled people now. And I'll give an example, and it's very emotional, because I have been told to use MAID multiple times in online spaces, medical assistance in dying, as a disabled person. When I advocate for better services and support for disabled people, when I'm making TikTok videos and things like that, people saying, if you can talk into a camera, you can get a job online, you should be working, get off your ass, you're just being lazy. There is so much abuse towards disabled people, and so much misinformation out there. Like, so many people are thinking, oh, the federal government passed this guaranteed disability income bill, but they don't know that there isn't any actual money going out to disabled people yet. And even this week, the new federal disability minister rejected a second petition for an emergency benefit for disabled Canadians, because so many people like myself, we don't have enough to eat every single day. And I am so thankful for online mutual aid, because without it, I would not survive. I am so grateful that I have supporters who send me care packages through Amazon wish lists and, Instacart gift cards, so that I have the freedom to purchase food that fits our medical diet, because food banks don't accommodate those things. And again, there's so many misconceptions, and I face so much abuse when I bring up these topics online, and people have just so many misconceptions about social assistance, thinking that we get everything handed to us, that we automatically get social housing, which is not true. The wait lists are astronomical, and the amount of accessible housing is so minimal. In my region, there is only one accessible housing unit. So for me, I'm going to be on that wait list for forever. My name will never come up. And I know this. So, I feel like there needs to be more addressed towards ableism and hatred towards disabled people, and dealing with that sort of thing. Because even when I report comments, even when I report the users on platforms like TikTok, like Twitter, they come back with no violations, even though the person is essentially telling me to go kill myself.
So interesting, Colette. Thank you for sharing. There are two pieces there that I feel are super important. One is, and I think that internet or the online space has cultivated such an ableist language. So even when there are, like, for example, issues of other kinds of discrimination, people tend to respond with ableist language. So what are you saying? You think you are this and that, and they use disabilities to put negative connotations on the other person. So I feel that the language of the online is so ableist that is so it's just something that it kind of like is inherent to the online world right now. And the other piece is the mutual aid online that I find it was really, really interesting during the COVID-19, during the pandemic. JHC and primarily Renee set up a mutual aid Facebook group. And in one weekend, it went from like 10 people to thousands. Like I think it was 2,000 in one weekend. People trying to figure out basic needs for themselves. And so that those grassroots mutual aid spaces are so fundamental as well in moments of emergency, in moments of support. So there is a balance there, right? Like there is a lot to explore in those spaces and how to keep them safe as well. Thank you for sharing. Alex, do you want to share?
Yeah, I've just been reading through the whole thing and trying to pick like one fact, but I think there's a lot in here that's like compounding to where we are today with like online hate speech.
Yeah.
I think it was interesting to see like the first sort of like anti-hate bills that were passed didn't recognize sexuality or gender identity in them. Yeah, and I know they do today, but I think it was kind of surprising because I'm just trying to find exactly where the one that I saw was.
Well, feel free to read it to us if you want.
Yeah, page 27. Saskatchewan passes a Bill of Rights, freedom of conscious religion, expression, discrimination in employment occupation services. And then in 1977, the Canadian Human Rights Act originally just addressed discrimination on sex, religion, race, family status, and color. So even like as recently as the late 70s, I think that's surprising that they didn't include everything that we have today.
Yeah. And is there anything that you want to add in terms of like how it does connect to the online with your online experience today?
I think just overall there seems to be a disconnect between when people like think about what is hate speech or what is like a hate crime, and then what they just dismiss as like, oh, it's just comments on social media. Like it's just something online, you can just log off if you don't want to see it. Which is something I see that a lot, is just people just treating it as like an anonymous sort of like void of the internet. They can just say whatever they want to in.
Yeah.
And that's definitely not true. I'm like, we can like, people will comment a lot of like anti-queer stuff. My group and our students union put out a post like opposing the anti-trans protests that happened in September, and we got a lot of comments from people like using their personal Instagram who are students, and I'm like, we can all see who you are and that you like are posting this hateful stuff and you just have no like regard because it's online. But I'm like, if I don't think people would say this stuff, would like go on and get a megaphone and say this stuff in person. So I think that's good to see that like there are proposed changes to the bill that are taking into account hate speech online, because I think it spreads, and when people see like one person comment something, then they feel empowered to comment other hate speech too. And then it just turns into like the post is just co-opted by a lot of hateful stuff, which is it's not good to see, and it's hard to deal with. And then if you delete it, then people also claim, oh, you're restricting our freedom of speech, you're deleting our comments. So yeah, sorry, that kind of went off topic, but I'm just trying to think.
No. That's exactly what you're talking about. I wonder if we should go around again and see where it takes us. So, Sarah, is there anything like out of the conversation that we just had, anything that is emerging for you?
Yeah, well, in regards to what Alex said, I feel like you see it all the time in real life. Like people will comment something either obnoxious or racist, something very hateful, but if you meet them in person, like they would never say that in real life, and that just feels cowardly to me. Like if you want to say that in real life, just don't say it at all. And yeah, also like you need to protect your space online as well, I feel like. And then so he brought up the issue of free speech, but if you let those mean and hurtful comments on, then who is that helping? Like, because everyone else can see it too, and then that can affect a person. Like, it can affect their mental health, their physical health, because even though it's online, it can really hurt you. And if you take it personally, because sometimes it feels incredibly personal, then it's putting you in danger. So I feel like some people just should not have internet access, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there were a few things, and I'll pass it to you, Colette, right after. There is that idea of how much can I say to you in your face, right? And how much am I gonna be able to say to you in your face, and how much people can say online is like they don't understand that on the other side, even if I see only your initials, you're people on the other side. Like you're human beings, and the same care and concern and love that I should show for everyone in person, I should show it in online, and that's used to the max. Like I have seen comments that are quite dehumanizing, and they find the online world kind of like a propaganda stage for many of these ideas that contravene a lot of the even the chart of human rights, like basic respect to, as well. So that is one thing, is like that kind of like our brain disassociate, like when we're not seeing the other person and feeling the physical presence, our brain kind of like switches to, I can say whatever I want to. I heard a really interesting conversation in one of our sessions with Social Stride about free speech, and people do not understand that when you feel that you can say whatever you're thinking, like the idea that we can say whatever we're thinking is not real, because many of us have ideas that we cannot say online because we're silenced right away. So and that our words can pass the threshold from like having a conversation or a debate to like really hurting and almost crossing to be a hate, not crime, but a hate, an act of hate. So we gotta be mindful of that and really have that conversation about what is free speech and what does it mean to have free speech online. And then the other piece that is really important, I think, is that idea that, and I think is more the older generation, like, and I'll say the older generation like me, sometimes we are and we function under the idea that we can disconnect. You know, it's like if I don't want to be on, I'm gonna say something like old age. If I don't want to be on Facebook, then I can disconnect. It's okay, but I can do it. I cannot ask young people whose all social life and interactions are online to just disconnect and be okay with it, because every single interaction is mediated by social media. So their online presence and their offline life, they are interconnected. And so we need to understand that the online presence is a full way of being that is connected, that is not apart from the person. And so people put a lot of intention and a lot of thought in building their online persona as well. So we can't just say, my generation can just say, you know what, just disconnect, it's okay. You don't want to hear that, just disconnect, that's okay. No, we actually have to thrive to create those safe spaces that we need. And Colette, what you said is also true, is like when we're trying to report, even just the reporting mechanisms of social media are really not, they don't have, like, sometimes when they said in those options, like, what are you reporting? You cannot even clearly display why are you reporting this comment, because they don't understand discrimination. They don't understand hate. And so they don't have the options for us to click properly what is happening in that comment. Or sometimes they're reviewed by artificial intelligence. And so artificial intelligence don't have the capacity to see the cultural context that we are seeing. So that is really important to keep in mind in terms of like the capacity of social media to respond to reporting with the reporting mechanisms that they offer. Colette, let's go around. Let's continue around and see where this conversation takes us. Colette, do you want to take it?
Sure. Was it Alex that was saying that people are saying to disconnect? And I completely agree that as an elder millennial myself, and I've got a son in his 20s and I've got a teenager, you know, I have seen some of those elder millennials saying, oh, you know, if this is too much for your mental health, you know, just take a break from social media for the weekend. And I completely agree. We can't do that. We can't disconnect from the issues that are going on. We need to look at them in the face, address them so that we can make real change. And if we don't look them in the face, then they just keep getting swept under the rug. And that's where I'm trying to break those generational, I guess not curses, but just lack of awareness and lack of understanding of what other people are going through. You know, again, I grew up just thinking I am European descent. My mom immigrated with her dad over from Europe as well. And now I'm trying to decolonize my own self, my own family background, and figure out, you know, where this Indigenous disconnect is and how I can, like I said, be more respectful in those spaces and learn and understand. And I've dropped in on every single day this week so far to learn in those spaces where I don't know, and just absorb and take that in and again, be more aware, be more conscious, and yeah, break those chains.
Mhm. In the session that is coming after, so for after this, they're gonna screen a movie in person, and they're gonna screen it in here. Like for people who are working in person, they're gonna screen a movie, and we can screen it here as well. And after Tiffany's gonna take us to a few tools that we use, or that we want to recommend to people when navigating online. And one of them is the traffic light, and it talks about how to check, or it is useful in checking with yourself, not to avoid the online world, but to like check on you as like, okay, am I prepared to go online, knowing what it is and knowing what am I gonna see, how do I understand my capacity, my emotional, physical, and spiritual capacity to go online. So maybe
Yeah.
that's something to look forward.
And that's another thing that I've had to address with myself. At first, getting really angry at people responding to me in negative ways when I'm talking about social issues, and learning to take a step back and get humorous with bullies instead. Or, just not respond at all, delete comments. And sometimes, it works. And other times it's like, all right, we just got to block profile. We don't need to deal with this. And learn who are supports in your community and who are asking disingenuous questions, because those I don't even answer. If people are asking a genuine question to me, I'm open to responding and making a video and talking about myself and my struggles and things like that and getting really personal. But if someone is disingenuous with what they're asking, or just saying like, oh, well, why can't you get up and do whatever? Why can't you XYZ, because, you're saying you're disabled, but you don't look it. Those I just don't even bother addressing, because I know they're antagonistic and they're there to try and rile up my emotions. And I'm at a place where I know where I want to push in myself and where I want to work on de-stressing.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm trying to pass on to my kids as well. Like, if you are dealing with online bullies, like, you can say your piece, but understand the difference. Oh, that was another thing. Understanding the difference between what free speech is and what hate speech is. Because you can openly say, this makes me feel this way. I don't like the way you're talking to me. Versus you are XYZ, name calling and putting down.
Mm-hmm.
And learning how to address people in that way instead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Alex, let's go back to you. We're going to be joining the in-person again in about 7 minutes or so. So let's make sure that we finish this conversation. Alex, you want to?
Yeah, I think going with what people have been saying about like the impacts that this stuff can have, even though it's online, and how it like translates into affecting people in their lives. I think I was talking with like one of the faculty members from my university who leads Queer, which is like the faculty run queer group, and they said they actually got doxxed last year on Instagram, so they don't have one, and they were uncomfortable making an Instagram for the queer group because of that even.
Do you want to explain what doxing is, just to make sure that we all are on the same page?
Yeah, so I think it's basically just where like people have their personal information, like their address, their contact info, um, like private
Mm-hmm.
info too, like, and their like personal relationships and stuff like that, where it's like posted publicly or even just like privately. I know there's like there are like hate groups online, and they operate on different platforms, and in some of those, like, they'll dox people who are like activists or even just like members and involved in different marginalized communities.
Yeah. And even if people do it, like in Edmonton, I think it was a few months ago, there was an incident of racism during a party or something. There was a party on one of the suburbs. There was a clear incident of racism there, and the addresses of these young people who were in the video, who were the agents of like that perpetrated the racist action, was revealed online, and so that put everyone in danger by now. So it is as a response against hate and discrimination online. One is it becomes a police matter, and two, it doesn't really help with the conversation. So I hear you, and when people are part of they have groups to support communities who are marginalized, or it's even worse, right? Like, and with all the hate and discrimination that is happening right now, then we need to protect ourselves. So I hear you, faculty member, being scared. Yes. Alex, you want to add anything else before we pass it to Sarah?
No, that's it.
Thank you for sharing that, and thank you to all of you. Sarah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, it just like popped in my head. Also, the matter of like, doxing and everything, but there's also catfishing and such situations that put especially Indigenous women in danger, and also queer people. People, some people like disguise themselves on like dating apps, and then you never know when that can lead. So that's also incredibly dangerous. And yeah, so I thought I'd bring it up.
Do you want to explain what catfishing is?
Yeah, well, it's just, disguising yourself as someone you're not on the internet. Whether, like some people even like steal pictures of people that they know, and they create fake profiles, and then they can lure people somewhere, do anything to them, so you have to, in the media space, also be aware of that, because it happens a lot.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous. So, and police, sometimes they get involved, sometimes even they don't want the people to get involved. So, it's a lose-lose situation all around.
Okay. And one of the I want to share with you, like, one of the main challenges we started with Social Stride. I want to say we thought about it with the support of some volunteers at the beginning, halfway through pandemics was in 2020, right? So it was June 2020 when we started the conversations. We launched Social Stride Presence in 2021, and we have been working in this for 2.5 years. And our first year was all about, let's start doing advocacy. Like, when people, because online spaces were also those spaces where people come to, they're bringing us back, where people were like coming to vent. It's like, this happened to me and blah, blah, blah. And so how do we address those things? Like, when people are venting. And so we started with the idea of advocacy, but there is no spaces to do any advocacy for what happened online. Usually there is no personal responsibility unless there is an institution that is behind the comment or that is hosting the page. No one takes responsibility, and the police is usually they cannot take that into their hands because nothing has happened. Maybe some threats, but they don't even take it seriously unless it is like a clear threat to someone. So that has been one of our major realizations. Does any of you feel comfortable sharing parts of our conversation here with the in-person people? They're gonna bring us back, and I don't want to keep talking. Come on, one of you. Too much pressure. Okay, so I'll say some things, but I know that I'm gonna forget, so you help me. Okay, so let's be ready. So I'll tell them. Oh, chat.
Did you want us to start, Angelica?
Yes, you start. Yes.
Perfect. All right, for our group, maybe instead of me telling which group, does anyone want to start? Share maybe some of the general things they were discussing, overall reflections? Oh, please volunteer out at once. I love it.
Volunteer or voluntold?
I know. But Blue, Kiara are better than you, so.
Oh,
So I'm going to start with you. Your group, and Russell is in the group as well, along with Hama? Yes, Hama.
So a big part of what we kind of saw and read was colonization. Colonization was a really big part of kind of where we are today. The alienation of different cultures, whether that be Chinese, Somalis, Sikhs, like indigenous populations. There was a lot of just negative impact on them, whether that would be head tax, whether that would be residential schools, whether that be being on a boat for 2 months at a time and only living off of what they have and not being able to leave the boat. Just different things that kind of make you take a step back and really think, what did go on? What was really happening? What were the mindsets of the people who were in charge or who gave up the food? So, any other thoughts?
Yeah, just mostly how all of the minority groups would be asked to come to Canada almost for some sort of help to make our country better. And they would they'll offer something really good to the immigrants. So they would come over, they would face all of these terrible things that would happen to them. But then the government would say, like, we're doing it in the goodness of our heart, we're doing it with the good Christian values. But everything that they did was completely opposite of that. And so it's just like, why?
Russell, any additions or? Great, thank you. Right, any other group? Okay, perfect, hand up, go.
I feel like to summarize a lot of what we were talking about, I feel like we were talking a lot about how a lot of the history seems to be repeating itself, and that could be attributed to lack of information online or misinformation online, and people struggling to want to change, to really learn and actually put in time and effort to, again, just honestly learn.
It's like they want to relax, they want to live their own life. It's like, I don't want to volunteer. I don't want to volunteer for social change. I don't want to do anything. I just want to live my own life. And I don't give anything. I don't want to do, they don't want to do anything to the world. And that's basically the struggle that a lot of people are currently experiencing, because it does take a lot of effort to speak up or just do something, which is understandable. But at the same time, in my opinion, people should be more open to doing things for other people, to basically sort of express a way of act of service, and yeah.
And yeah, I believe we also mentioned about how a lot of people will prefer to find information that aligns with their set of views. as opposed to, like you said, so that way they can, like you said, like just sort of stay in their like little calm bubble, like everything's great for me in the world, and that's all that really matters. And I just sort of wanted to give sort of like an example, but there is a trigger warning for transphobia, just so you guys know. So one of my friends in high school, a couple of years back, managed to have enough savings in order to get top surgery, which is basically just getting a flat chest. And I forget what it's called exactly, but basically the plastic surgeon has their own Instagram page where they post like the surgeries like before and afters, for example, just to be like, yeah, this is the kind of thing that we do. This is the services that we provide. If you like the way that like the surgery turns out afterwards, because basically if you're looking to get like top surgery, it's important to look at different places because the after results might look different. And so my friend consented to have their photo being posted online to show how happy they were with the surgery afterwards. And immediately the photo was taken and posted in several articles talking about how people are massacring children and massacring their bodies, saying that my friend was 14 years old, that they said that they were unhappy with the surgery afterwards, and that they got top surgery against their will, all of which is completely false. They are very happy, like everything like went great, but even like today, like every now and again the photos will resurface and my friend will start getting like essentially like hate mail, like them and their family talking about like, how could you let this happen to you? And people have just been unwilling to like actually like look into like the source of like the photo, look into like what the background actually is. They're just accepting these articles at face value, and just taking again the information at face value without doing any research themselves.
And I think to kind of just like ground our conversation with like the timeline, I think the reason why we started talking about how kind of like hate manifests in our current lives is because like, I think we had a reflection about like how a lot of the things we see in the timeline can just repeat itself, right? It's all based on like colonial history, and there's specific values that are being emphasized each time, right? It's very, I think, it's very like Western oriented, like very Christian oriented, like a heterosexual kind of oriented type of values that we prefer. So I think we talk about like how, we have this history, but we also seem to forget that this happened. Like every time we have an issue come up, like for example, the issue of like, trans people getting rights, we always kind of like have the same conversation of like, oh my, like there's a moral panic around it, right? And like that's kind of like that's what's happened throughout history. And we got into a conversation about like how we have the information, but people just don't want to engage with them because they don't want to be challenged, which then makes it challenging to make legislation to kind of combat this type of hate. It makes it challenging to actually, create a space that is safer where everyone can be like active. That's kind of like how we got to like the point of talking about how then we experience it today. Yeah.
Yeah. Right, and just one more group here is do you have a question?
Yeah, sure, I don't mind. So now something that stood out to.
Wait, hold on, can you hear online?
Can we go closer? I think it'll be better to go closer.
A little,
We can't hear you, but the movement is a bit hurtful in our ears. So you can be careful with the movement, and also there's some typing that we are hearing. So if we can just reduce the typing, that will be lovely.
So sorry about that.
Thank you for clarifying. All right, Munira is going to move with her typing, so she's not so close to the mic. And I think, let's not move the mic too much, and we can go right ahead, sorry.
We're just talking about like medical racism and the healthcare system with eugenics and indigenous women against their rights against without their consent. And another thing that came up to me while I was at that side of the wall was just seeing how some indigenous groups had to give up their rights, like to their status, and they get baptized in just a very Christianization or like forced assimilation to abandon their own cultures, their own values, and kind of adopt this westernized and Christian values. And also looking at the history around Canada's immigration and colonial history, just seeing how it's always been racist. First you had the Chinese, like when Canada needed help, as someone mentioned, they only want these people to come over and work for them temporarily and send them back. And not good enough to work, but not good enough to stay and build a life here, at least at the beginning. And yeah, that's stood out to me.
What else is good? Want to share? No, you don't have to. Only if you want to. Anything that Alicia or Munira that you want to add?
Yeah, we just talked a lot about how, like, yeah, history does tend to repeat itself, and you see all these, like, you see it with legislation, something happened, legislation changes it, rights are then taken away again. With civilization, we spoke about is how we don't really hear about it in the media that much, how often it still happens today, to the point where in our personal lives, multiple of us in our group knew who this has happened to contemporarily. And I think that's basically it. Is that everything? Yeah.
How about pass it to you, online folks? I can't see names. So I'm going to Angelica.
Okay, and I think can you hear us?
We can hear you.
Okay. Can you unmute a bit? Thank you. Oh, so I'm assuming you're hearing. So hopefully that's make faces if you're not hearing. So okay, so we're gonna attempt to. Okay, good. Thank you, Tiff. So we're gonna attempt to summarize our conversation. It was it went into different directions, but I know that with the help of the team, we're gonna get to most of like the key points that we talk about. So first of all, we were talking about the intersections of the online space with our real lives or the offline, how all those things that the history and the structures that have existed and that exist in our realities, we can see them online, like all over the discourses, the speeches, the things that are said on that same regard of racism and other kinds of discriminations that exist, but they are taken to the extreme, because in the online world, people think they talk as if there is no person on the other side of the screen, but there is the dehumanization of our initials. So, for example, Colette, CL, and Alex, AR. We assume that or we behave online as if there was no person there, and how impactful that is in the receiving end. And so people feel that they can make strong opinions and statements of our lives, our behaviors, just because we exist in the online world. We talk about the line in between freedom of speech and hate speech, because there's a natural kind of like flow in between seeing the person and being able to say what we want, I think it was one of us was talking about how we need to learn to use it in the online world, statements that represent what we are feeling, but not putting names and qualifying behaviors on other people. And so try to preserve that way of speaking that is healthy and safe. We talk about responses and lack of responses to what happened online. So how difficult it is to do any kind of advocacy, and how it has triggered things like doxing, like revealing personal information of people who either belong to marginalized communities or is trying to organize online. So, for example, someone give an example about the 2S LGBTQ community organizing online, and how the person who was leading that organizing got doxed, or there was some doxing, I don't know, but the expression is that their personal information was revealed, and so that put this person in danger. And we talk about catfish and how that put women, primarily indigenous women, in danger. So those kinds of risks that reveal that the same structures of discrimination exist and are reflected online. What am I forgetting, team? Help me here. Come on.
Dealing with ableism as well, and deconstructing people's ideas of social supports that are out there, so that real information can, get into people's minds, and how we can disrupt social bias, unconscious bias, and really fix the problems that are happening in society, like especially with social assistance, thinking that people are provided social housing automatically, that they're automatically provided enough food, clothing, everything to meet our needs, especially for disabled Canadians. But the reality is there is a lack of funding, there's a lack of supports, and with the expansion of medical assistance in dying, people are being pushed and feel coerced into that. And we need to really address this big issue in Canada right now, because I've personally had people to tell me to go and use MAID as a disabled advocate when I try to address these issues in online spaces. And just also addressing the history and injustices towards Indigenous people, and what's continuing to happen with children being removed from Indigenous families, even though in places like Ontario, they said birth alerts have stopped. But my family has been personally affected by this, with my granddaughter being taken at birth, and, finding out about my Indigenous ancestry, and just trying to break that apart, because I heard bringing up the Christian indoctrination, and that's what's happened to my family, especially as well with the Irish history of my family being brought over as laborers. So a lot of that background reading hit really close to home for me.
Thank you. Anything else that we are forgetting? I think something that I forgot to mention is also that there is the other side of like community organizing and mutual aid groups that have emerged in the online world that are so important as well, in a reality. So it's kind of like a point to show that there is potential for doing things differently, in the same way that there's potential for organizing and mobilizing and educating ourselves, online and offline. Alex, Sarah, am I forgetting any important points?
I think we pretty much rounded it up. Okay. I think the points that Alex, maybe you have something more to say.
Yeah, I think you covered most of it. I think we did also talk in depth about like when people use free speech as an excuse to spew hate speech online. And I think also how like one person, like I've noticed on my group's accounts, like how one person will start with saying something hateful, and then it, like other people feel like they're able to do it too. Like it just starts a whole pile of that onto things. And we also, I think, talked about how like deleting and reporting comments doesn't work. Like a lot of reports get denied, and however they're running the reporting system, like it misses a lot of the comments that don't directly use slurs or don't directly say I hate this group of people, or even if they do, sometimes it just doesn't delete those or accept the reports. And like, yeah, it's definitely not a reliable system.
Yeah. Thank you all of you for supporting the report. I've forgotten these pieces, and I'm glad we got to hear them from you. And I think that this conversation, first of all, bring us back to like that connection between the reality and the history, that the structures of power, the ideas that we have in Canada, and I think that they're really similar to some of that we have in other parts and other countries, and basically around the world, but that have been rooted by colonization. Those ideas are the ones that are taken, or that potentially are taking spaces in the online world as well, but that are perhaps aggravated by the fact that we don't have that personal connection, we don't have that physical connection that sometimes make us realize that there's a human body, and emotions and love on the other side of the screen. So we are really jealous that you get to build those relationships in person, but we can deal with the fact that this conversation is important to have it both online and in person, and work to create spaces that are safer. So I think that we, as humanity, but primarily younger generations than mine, have the right to have spaces online that are safe and that are built under the conditions that you understand and that you live as safe. So I want to invite us to think about the relation between those relationships that we're building among ourselves, and how do we bring those two spaces online to make them safer, to make them livable, to make them to thrive, so we can thrive in both online and offline based on what we want to create from them. It's not easy. There's a lot of ideas and ideological pressure from the reality of the structures of power, but we have a lot of capacity. And I think that's something that has been shown during these few days of the event, is that there is so much good work happening around the world, but in Turtle Island, in Canada, there's so much beautiful work that is happening that if we could connect all these work and people and organizations that are walking the path of human rights and walking the path of supporting each other and leveraging each other, then we have a lot of possibilities to create different kinds of spaces, both online and in person. So with that, I want to thank you all for this session. We have 7 minutes for a break. And then there is the screening of a movie that is called, I can't remember, but it's here on my, it's too far. If you're saying the name we cannot hear you because you're muted. Maybe on my chat that I'm not looking. The movie is at 2 p.m.
Break the hate. Break the hate.
Wait, mute again?
Mute us.
Break the hate.
Yeah, we got it. Let's mute your mic. Thank you. Sorry, there is a lot of background noise when your mic is open and you're not talking. But yes, Break the Hate. So Break the Hate is at 2 p.m. So for people who are online, feel free to get out of this session and then go to the session that is called Break the Hate. That's where it's going to be being projected or broadcast. And then all of you are going to have the possibility to watch it there in person. And then there's another session that is going to be delivered by Tiffany about online safety. I don't know the name of the session either, but I know Andrew is going to type it on the chat at some point. So let's continue with this program. I'm really looking forward of what comes up of the 3 days of all of you in that session being in person and the conversations that we are having here online. And we have a lot to build, a lot of work to do, but I know that there's a lot of strength. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you in the movie. Thank you for the ones that connected here. That was awesome to see you today.